Tony, you're very welcome to the conversation. Tell me about NET Ministries and when was it formed?
NET is a missionary organisation that's started 40 years ago, that's in 6 different countries and came to Ireland about 20 years ago. We're a missionary organisation that invites young people from Ireland, the UK, Europe, North and South America to come here. We train them up as missionaries and we send them out into teams to parishes and schools across the country.
That's amazing. And how many people would you take in each year in order to do that work?
Depending on the year, internationally, we could have up to 400 people. This year it's post-COVID, so it's a little bit slower. I'm not sure the international figures, but in Ireland we have about 35 young people who are on mission here.
And that's marvellous. When they come to Ireland, is there a training programme that you put them through prior to them being released into the community to do such wonderful work?
Yes, there is. And we start praying with them before they come. So we're on regular calls with them before they come to Ireland. And as soon as they get here, they enter an intense period of retreat. And then after that 10-day retreat period, it's into ministry tools and, dramas, learning new skills, how to hand the faith on to young people.
Yes, and some of the photographs you sent to us were incredible, obviously showing their passion and the power of the ministry, when they are doing the parish and schoolwork. So when you actually go to a parish, having done parish work myself, how does that pan out? Obviously you've church work and you've school work.
Mm-hmm. So we'll start planning a team going into a parish as a ministry. It could be 2 years before the team actually arrive in the parish, so that the parish is actually ready for the team when they arrive. And the first thing the team does is it basically gets to know the young people who are there. Now the young people, because of the way things are in Ireland, the young people may or may not be, some of them will be coming to church obviously, but not every young person will be there on a Sunday morning, and it's our job to go out to where the young people are at, and that could be outside the chipper, it could be outside the dance hall, it could be at the GAA grounds, wherever young people are, wherever they're congregating. We are there to try and get to know young people, and we do a lot of work in the Catholic schools as well. So we'll go into the primary schools and the secondary schools. We'll do RE classes and general mingling at break times, and we'll invite young people to a youth group in the evening once a week. And it's a journey then from there on in once they're engaged.
Yeah, listen, that's astonishing. You really are answering God's call to go out to the highways and byways. Like, having done that work myself, it's tremendously challenging when you're going up to someone outside a nightclub or at a chip van or at outside a restaurant or whatever, and you're trying to initially engage them. Mm-hmm. Can you speak into that a little for us, and how that's done?
Well, I think very much it has to be the missionary themselves have to grow a thick skin, mm-hmm. and it's very much on a case by case basis how to actually approach young people. And we had a team in a place called Delvin. We still have a team there many years later. And when we went there, there was no school in the parish. So the only place the young people were congregating was outside the shops at night, basically hanging around the chip shop. And that's where, our team encountered them. And it was just a matter of striking up conversation about general stuff, not about religion, and we have to take young people where they're actually at and recognize that the language of faith is somewhere further down the line.
Mm-hmm. It's very admirable work.
Thank you.
It is. And is the school's work different? Is it any easier? Is it just as challenging?
It is. It's great that we have access to the schools. That's a real privilege that we can still get in there. Is it challenging? There's an idea that young people they hate religion, they hate their faith. The reality is they've never been introduced to their faith for the most part. And obviously that's a generalization, but when young people get to know who God actually is, they're hungry and they're open and they want to know more. And it's I have some quotes here from young people who did retreats recently in primary school, and it's for example, here's one young person, like if I'm nervous or something, I will 100% pray. Now this is after a retreat, and I learned that the more you believe, the more you can keep sin away, and I think he's here for me, meaning God, and will be from now on.
Lovely.
I mean, that's powerful. And that's a child at national school level or primary school. And here's some senior quotations. I like the drama because it made me realize how great God is. That's somebody who didn't know God at all.
Beautiful.
And now they're realizing how good God is.
Does young people talking to young people help?
Absolutely. I'm at an age where I'm, in some respects, irrelevant to where young people are actually at, and I need to recognize that it's going to take another generation below me who will actually be credible in the eyes of a young person.
And Tony, how do you make that call out to the volunteers or missionaries, and what age do they have to be?
So it's referrals. It's young people themselves who've been here from Ireland, from Europe, and they've had a really powerful experience, and they want to tell their friends. They think that their friends should actually do it. And we have 7 children ourselves. 5 of those 7 children have actually all done NET, either internationally or in Ireland. And they didn't do it because their dad or mum works with NET. They did it because they could see the benefit of it. And that's the same for any young person who wants to actually do a mission year. NET is a great way. US, Canada, Australia, Uganda, Scotland and Ireland. It's a great way of actually seeing the world and also spreading the faith. And it's something that a person is changed after they do a year of mission and they've told people about Jesus. That's a life, what it's like. You've worked in the environment yourself. That's a life-changing thing to spread the gospel. And the amount of vocations that have come from it are incredible. The majority of our missionaries would be from abroad. We have 20 vocations to the priesthood and religious life. The majority of those vocations are in Ireland. And that's not including the marriages, the people who are committed to following Jesus for the rest of their lives in a way that they may not have been, or they definitely would not have been, many of them would say, had they not done that year of mission.
And Tony, we were talking about the wonderful foundation that NET Ministries offers the volunteers and the missionaries. And even if what springs to mind for me is my colleague who manages EWTN Hungary.
Yes, indeed. Demonkus was with us for 2 years pre-COVID, and his second year was in the COVID year, and he's a fantastic young man. We're very proud of him, and he's getting married to a young lady who he met on NET Ministries Ireland.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
It's fantastic.
Tell me, how does the year pan out? For you guys that obviously are seeking someone's commitment for the year, is there a call to action at the beginning of the year, and then you need a particular, like if anyone is listening at the moment and watching this program, is there a particular time period that you want them to have that noticeability, that call out?
Sure. So our North American applications close in December every year for the year that begins the following August. And so if anybody's listening to this and they're interested and this has piqued an interest in them, take it to prayer and ask the Lord, is this something that they're being asked to do? And go on netministries.ie and just send in a request for information, and we'd be really delighted to talk to you. Those from Europe and Ireland and the UK, there's a later closing date, and we can really take people up until July, but we prefer obviously if the applications were sooner. The age group that we work with are 18 to 30. So if a young person is in that category and they feel the call of God to mission, send us a request for information, send us an application, because it's something that will change your life forever. And I would say it is something that's very edifying, and to see the fruit of it is incredible. There are young people from abroad who have settled in Ireland after doing a year of mission here because they feel a call to actually to continue the work after the year of mission in Ireland.
And when they arrive in Ireland, that's in summertime, I'm assuming, and then they're staying in the beautiful county of Donegal in the northwest.
Absolutely, yeah. It's Ireland is beautiful all year, but it's particularly beautiful in the summer. And Donegal, as you know yourself, is God's own country. So it's it's a beautiful place, and we're very blessed to welcome people there, and they get to see a lot of the country as well. Ireland's a fantastic place to get to know, and the Irish people are very, very welcoming.
And when people obviously arrive, there's a period of formation. And when would their first interaction with a school or parish be if they arrived in the summer?
So the formation is 10 days of retreat, and then another 3 weeks or so of just tools, how to do this thing that we ask you to do. And it's their first interaction with a school or a young person will be in the middle of September. Yeah.
Tony, thank you for that. We're going to take a break just now, and we'll see you back in a few minutes, where we'll hear more from Tony Foy on Net Ministries Ireland. Welcome back to the conversation, where in this episode we're speaking with Tony Foy of Net Ministries Ireland. As Executive Director of Net Ministries, I just wanted to make sure that the people listening and the people watching understood and aware of the tremendous legacy that you guys have here in Ireland. So you're operating for roughly 20 years, but how many young people approximately over that period of time have encountered your wonderful message?
Thank you. At this stage, you're talking in around 250,000 young Irish people would have encountered a missionary in Ireland. And that's something that, as St. Paul says, we don't know the effect of that. We plant the seed, and who knows what will happen with that in time to come. And hopefully that will bear fruit in the years to come, and has already borne fruit in the lives of many young people.
That's astonishing. So that's at least 250,000 young people have heard the fact that God loves them, have heard the fact that God is there for them, that He's a plan for their life. That's truly astonishing. Obviously, the manner in which that has evolved, it does obviously come obviously from the grace of God inherent in yourself and Sheena, your wife, and your powerful ministry, but obviously in their choice of volunteer and missionary that is chosen, but also is inspired to join. But I wanted to make sure that people also understood the high degree of discipleship and care that goes into that volunteer and missionary once they arrive in Ireland. And we were talking earlier on the various different wonderful stages that you put them through.
Sure. So on top of the volunteers who come as missionaries, we have people who have done a year of mission in the past and want to help in a support role who also volunteer. And we have this year we've around about 20 volunteer on top of the 34 who want to support the people who are on the ground in the mission field, and their job is to supervise and support the young people who are on mission. So everybody who is on a team, they have a supervisor, and that person's role is to, same gender, that person's role is to ensure that they're happy, ensure that they're praying, ensure that they're physically, that they're going to bed on time, that any emotional concerns that they have somebody to talk to, and just bounce stuff off, and all that type of thing. Any concerns? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Tell me more about that. The daily prayer and the mass and the scripture.
Yeah. So we encourage all our missionaries to go to mass every day if that is at all available in their parish. We also insist that each missionary prays for an hour a day. And on top of that hour, the team in mission prays for an hour a day as a team. So you're looking at, the source and summit of our faith in the Mass is a beautiful privilege for anybody to get to do, to receive Jesus in the Eucharist every day. And then there's personal prayer for an hour and, team prayer for an hour on top of that. And the fruit of the ministry comes through the prayer. The fruit of the relationship that we cannot give what we don't have. If I'm not praying, you're going to see it pretty obviously. The people who are watching this program, Aidan, are going to know that this guy's a fake. He's not praying, and we can't give what we don't have. And it's the same with our missionaries. You know, as a mission, we can't give what we don't have. So we've got to make sure that we've got lots of the Lord inside of us, and so that people know that when they encounter us, they're not encountering Jesus, but they're encountering somebody who has encountered Jesus. Yeah.
And that feeling of companionship, you know, it was very evident when I visited Net Ministries some years ago in Donegal, and it's you could just see you could sense that there's a companionship with the Lord and in the Lord, you know, in the room that I was, you know, speaking in that night. Can you speak a little bit into the encounter, lighthouse, and discipleship?
Yeah. So thank you for that. The encounter is that would generally happen in the course of a retreat. So they don't encounter us. While they do encounter us, just like you said, you know, people will encounter young missionaries and they see there's something different about them.
Now, is this a retreat at parish level?
This is a retreat at parish level or in school.
That the young missionaries are giving.
That their young missionaries are giving, and they're giving the retreat to young people. Well, you sense there's something different about these young people, and it's intriguing. That's not the encounter that we're actually talking about. We're actually talking about God showing up for a young person in their lives. That, you know, they have questions that they want answered. They want to have a real experience of God at an emotional and a spiritual level, and we don't provide that for them, but we hopefully provide a situation where Jesus gets an opportunity to work in a young person's life. You know, where they really get to know him, know he's real, and feel that he's real.
And just in terms of, again, how well cared for the volunteers and the missionaries are when they arrive and throughout the year, as part of their prayer program, if you like, is retreats, you know, a personal retreat, an aspect of their experience as well, just to keep them strong?
Absolutely. There's retreats throughout the year, and we'd also encourage anybody who feels a call in their heart to, you know, priesthood or religious life, which is a big feature of missionaries who serve in Ireland and abroad internationally. We would encourage them to follow that through and to go and spend a few days with a religious order or with a parish priest, and just shadow them and see where that takes them. Yeah.
Well, that's very good indeed. Regarding the feedback from the various people, like schools, for example, parishes, from the missionaries themselves who do this work so wonderfully for Net Ministries, are there any particularly powerful stories from each of those people that sticks in your mind and you can positively convey to us?
Yeah, absolutely. There are stories every year from the parish teams, and I'll give you one particular instance of one young fella he came from a blended family, and so in other words, the guy that his mum was living with was not his biological father. He came to faith through a mission team working in his parish. He had a conversion. The force of a conversion was so powerful, his mother noticed there's something different about this young fella. She then had a conversion, and herself and her boyfriend started to live as brother and sister in the house. And she's powerfully come into her faith, and that young fella has served as a missionary with Net Ministries. So powerful is, and he's discerning, different ideas for his life and so on and so forth. And God can move powerfully in anybody's life, and that's just the reality of where we're at. So there's lots of stories like that.
No, that's very interesting indeed. And then at school level, what feedback have you had from the schools on the power over the last 20 years?
It can be a very isolating experience for a teacher who has faith in a Catholic school in Ireland, and it's not to go, oh, woe was me, but it can be a difficult environment, and they receive encouragement themselves. Chaplains receive encouragement, RE teachers receive encouragement from our presence in the schools, and the feedback that we've gotten from young people. I'll just read you a couple that I've got here. Aidan, if I can.
Of course.
Here's a couple of feedback from a senior. These are retreats that were last week. I liked the drama because it made me realise how great God is. Now, this is a young person who didn't have any notion of God before. The prayer time was nice, as we got some time to talk to God. I mean, who doesn't want to enjoy their prayer time, you know, and how good our God is. And this is from, you know, the primary school or national school. One young person, like if I'm nervous or something, I will 100% pray. And I learned that the more you believe, the more you can keep sin away. And I think he's there for me, and that God is there for me and will be from now on.
That's lovely.
Yeah,
That's
and
really
that's
lovely.
all the time. All the, you know, the schools are feeding that back to us all the time. So it's very powerful that a young missionary can reach into a young person's heart, and they realize through the witness and the testimony of a young missionary that God is real and he wants to be a part of our lives.
No, that's mighty. Tell me then, at parish level, not just the schools, but your wonderful work just at parish level and perhaps the parish centres, what are any interesting stories from whether the priests or the people in charge there?
Yeah, we have a team in a parish called Delvin in County Westmeath, and we've been there for 12 years, so back-to-back teams, and they have a problem in that parish. Now there's 435 people in this village. It's a very, very small town. The problem is that they don't have enough missionaries to facilitate the numbers of young people who are coming to the youth group.
Wow, that's amazing.
It is amazing, and you know, these young people are coming from all sorts of backgrounds, and they're having an encounter with God that they want to come back, and they're inviting their friends to come as well. And it's you know, I don't want to create the impression that this is easy. Like if people think this is easy, then don't come or don't express an interest in volunteering in Ireland. This is not for the faint of heart. This is going to ask questions of ourselves that maybe we thought we didn't have the answers to. And the reality is we don't have the answers to these questions. But with God's grace, we can do this work. And that when we have to dig deep and actually find him within ourselves, then we can be a missionary, because of ourselves we cannot do this.
Tell me, you mentioned earlier about the faith of the grandparents. Speak a little into that for us.
It is so important that I'm a grandparent now, we have our first grandchild, and it's so important that we pray with our grandchildren. And through no fault of our own as grandparents, our kids have maybe walked away from the faith, hopefully temporarily, and it's up to us to give our grandkids an experience of faith that in adulthood, when they walk through the doors of a church, that it's not a foreign place, that God as a concept is not a foreign concept, and that God as a person, even more, is actually a really important thing in a young person's life. And when they hear it from a young age, that will stick with them. So that I would encourage the grandparents to really dig in and to keep praying, keep up the prayers, keep the mass obviously, and the rosary, and you know, to keep telling our grandchildren that God loves them and that we love you too.
In closing, how would you summarise just the work of Net Ministries in terms of why should people invite you into the parish? What difference does it make to the young people there, and how would you put that call out to them and even to your young missionaries at this time?
Thanks, Aidan. That's a big question. I'll start with the parish first, and I would say that, you know, I hear conversations at parish level where they want to do something for the youth and they don't know how. We can help you with that. We can help get you started.
Brilliant.
And you know, a couple of years with a Net team, and we can build something up that whenever we leave, you have something left behind that you can continue with yourself. And young people on fire for their faith is what we want. And that's what you want in a parish as well. You know, the parish priests, that's what you want. And we need to pray for our priests because they're working really hard and they need encouragement. In terms of a young person who might be interested and might feel called to actually volunteer as a missionary, I would say, have courage, ask God, is this something he wants you to do? Ask the question, and ask him to remind you when he gives you the answer that you actually asked the question, because that's important too. And the reality is God is calling all of us to a deeper relationship with him, and what better way than to volunteer a year of our lives? Because you know, you and I, we're a little bit older, we're a little bit wiser, we know how important our faith is to us, and this gives a young person a perspective on life that, you know, they will grow more in this 1 year than they will in 10 years in living a normal life, and it helps with every aspect of our lives, in our relationships and you know, marriage, if we're called to marriage or priesthood or religious life. It helps with every aspect of us, because we're having to learn to deal with people. Yeah, and it's really, really powerful.
That's beautifully summarised. Thank you very much. And for people who want more information on Net Ministries, where's the best place to visit?
Our website, netministries.ie. Thank you, Aidan. Appreciate it.
Tony, thank you for giving us an insight into your great work and sharing with us your marvellous ministry.
Thanks, Aidan. Appreciate your time. Thanks for having me on.
Well, that's it for this episode of The Conversation. Please join us next time, where again I'll be speaking with people involved in amazing ministries here in Ireland and beyond.